Mr. James Opombuenu, and service chiefs are all present on becoming Speaker of the 8th Parliament. His has been a distinguished career, having entered the first Parliament of the Fourth Republic in 1993, and I came to meet him in the Second Parliament in 1997. He has been Majority Leader, Minister of State, one of the 3 wise men in a previous government, Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and now finds himself in this elevated position of being the 3rd most important person in the governance structure of our country. It is wholly appropriate that at such a crucial period in the history of our country, my senior in Parliament and I should work together for the well-being of the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, I wish you well in the discharge of the duties of this high office. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, I was here for the first time as President of the Republic, having won the election of 2016 and having inherited a faltering economy and an expectant people. Between that time and 2010, I sought to deliver on the mandate reposed on me and my party, the New Patriotic Party, and gain once again the confidence of the Ghanaian people. It was by no means a straightforward task. We were able to deliver on most of our 2016 promises, in spite of the considerable challenges we confronted and the setbacks we encountered. We were confident our record in office would put us in good stead before the electorate and earn us a 2nd term in office, which it did. It means that the reason for which the Ghanaian people went to the polls on 7th December, that is to seek an improvement in their living standards and the rapid transformation of the economy, must continue in earnest. It means that the clarion call of 4 more for Nana and the NPP to do more for you must be realized, and I intend to do so. The commencement of this process has been facilitated by members of this House, and I'm thankful to you for enabling government to be duly constituted. The expeditious and thorough manner in which my ministers were scrutinized by the Appointments Committee and the approval by the full House of each of the 29 substantive ministers was for me an indication of the collective determination of both sides of the House, with mutual regard for each other, to work together for the good of the country. This is what the Ghanaian people demand from us by insisting on virtual parity in the House between the 2 major parties of our country. The realization of the Ghana project and not the attainment of narrow partisan interests must be the guiding principle of the business to be conducted in the House. As President of the Republic, I give my commitment, my firm commitment to this end, and I assure Mr. Speaker and the legislature of the cooperation of the executive in this endeavor. As I indicated in my acceptance speech on the night of 9th December 2020, now is the time for each and every one of us, irrespective of our political affiliations, to unite, join hands, stand shoulder to shoulder, and work hard to place Ghana where she deserves to be. Mr. Speaker, in the face of a global pandemic that has ravaged lives and livelihoods in all parts of the world, we cannot afford to pursue interests that will leave our nation and its citizens the poorer for it. COVID-19 has impacted heavily on economic activities, created uncertainty, weakened global growth conditions, whilst putting undue strain on already weak and fragile health systems, particularly in developing countries. Mr. Speaker, between 2017 and the first quarter of 2020, we had made considerable gains in the management of the national economy, where we witnessed annual average GDP growth of 7%, single-digit inflation, reduced fiscal deficits, with 3 consecutive years of primary surpluses, a relatively stable exchange rate, a significant improvement in the current account with 3 consecutive years of trade surpluses, strong foreign exchange reserve buffers, markedly reduced lending rates, and appreciable job creation. According to the COVID-19 Business Tracker survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the World Bank, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to job losses, with many Ghanaian businesses and firms being forced to cut costs by reducing staff hours, cutting wages, and in some cases, laying off workers. This survey, again, showed that about 770,000 workers had their wages reduced, and about 42,000 employees were laid off during the 3-week partial lockdown imposed on the Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi metropolitan areas and their contiguous districts, Tema and Kaswa. Government, however, succeeded in protecting the jobs and incomes of all public sector employees. Indeed, the cost of COVID-19 has been enormous. Our overall economic growth rate for 2020 was reviewed downwards from 6.8% to 0.9%. The non-oil economy was also revised from 6.7% to 1.6%. Revenue shortfall was estimated at 13.5 billion cedis, with additional expenditures related to stemming the tide of COVID-19 estimated at 11.8 billion cedis, with a combined effect amounting to 25.3 billion cedis, or 6.6% of GDP. The resultant fiscal deficit for 2020 was thus revised from 4.7% of GDP to 11.4% of GDP. This was done to reflect the impact of the pandemic. The fiscal responsibility rule of keeping a deficit within a threshold of 5% of GDP and a positive primary balance for every year was suspended in 2020 to enable fiscal operations accommodate the impact of the pandemic. I indicated at the time that we know what to do to bring the economy back to life. What we do not know how to do is to bring people back to life. That is why government did not hesitate to institute measures to protect the lives and livelihoods of Ghanaians, even if it was to the temporary detriment of our much sought-after fiscal stability. The formulation and implementation of the COVID-19 preparedness and responsible plan, tracing, testing, treatment, waiver of personal income tax, and provision of an additional 50% basic salary allowance to healthcare workers, expanding the capacities of laboratories to increase COVID-19 testing, establishment of isolation centers in all regions and districts, fumigation of markets and schools, provision of food packages and hot meals for residents in areas affected by the partial lockdown, provision of free water for all households, provision of free electricity for lifeline consumers, and a 50% discount for all other consumers, reduction in the communication service tax from 9% to 5%, the institution of a 750 million CD loan facility for micro, small, and medium enterprises through the CAPBUS initiative, and the provision of a 2 billion CD guarantee facility to support large businesses such as schools and pharmaceutical companies are amongst the several measures put in place by government to cushion Ghanaians from the impact of the pandemic. Support has also been forthcoming from the Bank of Ghana under its brilliant leadership, which has lowered the monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 14.5%, reduced the primary reserve requirement from 10% to 8%, reduced the capital adequacy requirement from 13% to 11.5%, and reduced interest rates on the Ghana reference rate to 200 basis points. The Ghana Revenue Authority has also extended the dates for filing of taxes from 4 months to 6 months after the end of the base year, issued a waiver on VAT, National Health Insurance Levy, and Get Fund Levy on donations of equipment and goods for fighting the pandemic, waived income taxes on third-tier pension withdrawals, and permitted the deduction of contributions and donations towards COVID-19 as allowable expenses for tax purposes. Mr. Speaker, my government found the resources to cushion the impact of the pandemic because we are good managers of the economy. And we are good protectors of the public purse. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has exposed the need to expedite the process of moving Ghana to a situation beyond aid. That is why government has developed and is currently implementing the 100 billion CD Ghana Cares Obatampa program to transform, revitalize, and modernize our economy and return it to high and sustained growth for the next 3 years. The key projects under the CARES program include: A, supporting commercial farming and attracting educated youth into commercial farming. B, building the country's light manufacturing sector. C, developing engineering, machine tools, and ICT digital economic industries. D, fast-tracking digitalization. E, developing Ghana's housing and construction industry. F, establishing Ghana as a regional hub. G, reviewing and optimizing the implementation of government flagships and key programs. And H, creating jobs for young people and expanding opportunities for the vulnerable in society, including persons with disabilities. The establishment of the National Development Bank under the Ghana Cares program is expected to provide financial support to businesses in Ghana. Government expects economic activity, which has already picked up, to do so even further following the ongoing vaccination exercise and the easing of restrictions put in place to curb the effects of the disease. We expect GDP growth to rebound strongly this year to nearly 5%, above the IMF's 2021 January projection of 3.2% growth for Sub-Saharan Africa for 2021. The medium-term outlook supported by the implementation of the Ghana's CARES program is bright. We are confident that together we will emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic with a stronger and more resilient economy. Mr. Speaker, if we are to see the rebirth and growth of our economy, our people must be healthy and not succumb to COVID-19. On 24th February, government secured the first batch of vaccine doses from the COVAX facility. The vaccination campaign is currently ongoing, with 262,335 number of Ghanaians receiving the first dose of the vaccines as at 10:30 a.m. this morning. The target is to vaccinate 20 million Ghanaians, and government is working hard towards realizing this goal. We remain on course to taking delivery of some 17,600,000 vaccine doses by June, with more to come in the course of the year. I want to urge members of the House to lend their voices to the public education campaign currently ongoing with regards to the vaccination program. The vaccine, together with strict compliance with the safety protocols, is what will allow us to open up our country again and embark on the quest to restore normalcy to our lives and livelihoods. Government is also mindful of a problem associated with vaccinations, and that is how to dispose of used PPEs, vials, needles, and syringes that are being used in the vaccination exercise. Government is collaborating with the private sector to establish 14 medical waste treatment facilities across the country to help address once and for all the safe disposal of medical waste. The pandemic, Mr. Speaker, has emphasized the need to expand access to health care for every Ghanaian, irrespective of his or her location. And I want to thank again and again all our frontline healthcare workers for their devotion to duty and sense of patriotism. The great amount of work undertaken by government has meant that we presently have some 307 functioning and well-equipped ambulances under the One Constituency, One Ambulance initiative, supported by a state-of-the-art digitized command center to field emergency calls and to dispatch ambulances. Last year, 33 major health projects were approved for implementation at a cost of 890 million euros. Key amongst them are the Koforidua Regional Hospital, Tema General Hospital, the Nephrology and Urology Center at Kolebu, redevelopment of the Fia Nkwanta Hospital into a teaching hospital, and the construction of a new regional hospital at Agna Kwanta in the Western region. As announced last year, Agenda 111, which will see to the construction of 100-bed district hospitals in 101 districts with no hospitals, 7 regional hospitals for the new regions, including one for the Western region, which has commenced and will continue without interruption. Agenda 111, the largest ever investment in healthcare infrastructure in our history. It's part of a massive vision for Ghana's healthcare sector, the realization of which will lead to Ghana becoming a center of medical excellence and a destination for medical tourism, and will also see us achieve the following. Each of the 16 regional hospitals will be designated as a center of excellence in the different specializations of medicine. For example, orthopedic surgery, burns, plastic and reconstructive surgery, breast care center, fertility center, neonatology and pediatric center, neurosurgery and spine center, stroke center, heart and kidney center, and mental health center, to name a few. Continuously upgrade our medical curriculum and continue to train our young doctors and healthcare professionals in a world-class fashion. 3, incentivize the private sector to increase capacity to support demand in healthcare delivery. And 4, encourage Ghanaian medical experts in the diaspora to collaborate and join hands with us to help build and contribute to the realization of this noble vision. The West African region is estimated to reach a population of 500 million by 2020, by which time this vision would have been realized. Government will continue to invest in the health sector and will continue to recruit more health professionals in addition to the 100,000 recruited in my first term for our health facilities. Electronic medical record system, e-health deployment, is currently underway, following its implementation in key health facilities like Kolebu, Konfuanoche, Ho, Tamale, and Cape Coast teaching hospitals, and several district hospitals in the central region. Upper East, Upper West, and Bono regional hospitals will go live on the eHealth platform in 5 days. Mr. Speaker, when it was needed most, at the height of the pandemic, the ingenuity and creativity of the Ghanaians showed through, which caught the attention of the world. When PPEs were being sold on the world market at extortionist prices, largely because demand outstripped supply, we began producing them in Ghana. Scrubs, medical gowns, sanitizers, masks, and gloves. All of these essential to the fight against COVID-19 were produced in Ghana. In total, 14,600,000 pieces of personal protective equipment have so far been produced domestically for health workers, students, teaching and non-teaching staff of tertiary and secondary educational institutions. We are determined to make our own things, and the Akufo-Addo government will continue with the agenda of rapid industrialization, with the aim of transforming the structure of the Ghanaian economy from one dependent on the production and export of raw materials to a value-added industrialized economy. Under the One District, One Factory initiative, 232 projects are at various stages of implementation. These include 76 operating as 1D1F companies, whilst 112, including 5 medium-sized agro-processing factories and 63 common user facilities, are under construction. Open your eyes, you'll see them. The Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation has made good progress on the bauxite exploitation program that will drive our industrial transformation agenda. We are in the final stage of an open and transparent investor engagement process and are in negotiations to select strategic investors to partner GIADEC for the bauxite mining and alumina refinery projects. The selected partners will be announced imminently. Development policy to set up in Ghana. So far, Volkswagen has produced 1,167 vehicles, Sinotruck 276 vehicles, and our own Kantanka has produced 400 vehicles. The Japanese conglomerate, Nissan, has also started the assembly of vehicles in the country. Mr. Speaker, our nation's food resilience has been severely tested over the past year. The closure of borders in the midst of the pandemic meant that we have had to depend largely on food we produced. We have fared well under the circumstances, largely as a result of the bold policies implemented by government since 2017, such as the Program for Planting for Food and Jobs, Rearing for Food and Jobs, the One Village, One Dam initiative, the One District, One Warehouse policy, establishment of greenhouse villages, revitalization of the cocoa rehabilitation program, and the reactivation of our aquaculture industry. I'm happy to inform the House that during this period of the pandemic, we have experienced no food shortages in this country. There have been increases in maize and rice yields by 110% and 48% respectively. We have for the first time in a long while become a net exporter of food, as opposed to the days of importation of tomatoes and plantain. Indeed, in 2019, we exported some 140,000 metric tons to our neighbors. We are determined to take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, produce more in Ghana, to sell more to Africa and beyond as we move Ghana beyond aid. The agreement for strategic partnership between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has bound our two countries in even closer intimacy, especially in the cocoa sector. We have succeeded in aligning the cocoa production and marketing policies of the two countries and ensured that we do not continue to be victims or pawns of a global cocoa industry that is dependent on the toil and effort of our farmers. A new trading mechanism has been implemented and has ensured that a new cost item of 400 United States dollars per ton for every cocoa sold by the two nations, effective from the 2021 season, is paid to our farmers. Through the establishment of the Tree Crops Development Authority, the government is determined to end the over-reliance on cocoa and develop other cash crops such as cashew, cotton, mango, oil palm, rubber, and shea. Government remains committed to the completion of the many harbors and landing sites, which are different stages of completion in Senya Breku, Biscove, Elmina, Moray, Winneba, Gumwafete, Tessie, Keta, Mumford, and Jamestown. Mr. Speaker, I am passionate about the education of every child in Ghana, because education opens doors. That is why one of my biggest concerns during this pandemic has been to safeguard the education of our children. All over the world, governments were forced to shut down schools as we did. However, we took steps to ensure that the education of our children was not truncated. Last year, bold and responsible decisions made it possible for JHS3 and SHS3 students to take their final examinations. And final year university students graduated. Currently, all our children, from kindergarten to university, are core subjects. This was an impressive WACC performance, with over